What if a single post online, a visa delay, or a forgotten document could change your future overnight? Across the UK, new laws are quietly reshaping how we live, work, and even express ourselves. And most people don't even realise it yet. From digital IDs and stricter immigration rules to social media crackdowns and workplace reforms, these changes could impact your daily life in ways you never expected. In this video, we'll count down 10 powerful UK laws you need to know right now, because understanding them might just be the key to protecting your rights and freedom. Number 1. Assisted Dying, End of Life. Bill England and Wales. The Assisted Dying Bill has become one of the most debated topics in the UK's legal landscape, stirring both compassion and controversy. This proposed law would allow terminally ill adults with less than 6 months to live to legally choose medical assistance to end their lives. It's a deeply emotional and ethical issue, designed to give individuals more autonomy and dignity during their final days. Under the proposal, 2 doctors and a High Court judge must confirm the person's diagnosis and mental capacity before any action can take place. Supporters say it's about compassion, freedom of choice, and reducing suffering, while opponents fear it could pressure vulnerable people into feeling that their lives are a burden to others. If passed, this law would reshape how the UK views end-of-life care, shifting from purely prolonging life to respecting personal choice in how it ends. Critics worry about potential misuse, especially among the elderly or disabled, where social or financial pressures could subtly influence decisions. Medical professionals are divided. Some believe this law would bring clarity and safeguards, while others argue it could erode the fundamental principle of preserving life. Studies from countries like Canada and New Zealand, where similar laws exist, show that strict regulation can minimise abuse, but concerns about moral and societal implications persist. The public conversation now revolves around finding the balance between compassionate autonomy and necessary protection. For ordinary citizens, understanding this law is vital because it affects families, healthcare systems, and moral values across society. If legalised, patients could openly discuss their choices with doctors without fear of legal consequences, and families might gain peace in knowing their loved ones' wishes are respected. However, it also demands that individuals think carefully about advanced directives, palliative care options, and personal beliefs. The Assisted Dying Bill isn't merely a legal matter. It's a reflection of how society defines dignity, choice, and humanity in the face of death. Whether embraced or resisted, it challenges everyone to confront the question: who should have the final say over one's life and its ending? Number 1. Assisted Dying, End of Life. Bill England and Wales. The Assisted Dying Bill has become one of the most debated topics in the UK's legal landscape, stirring both compassion and controversy. This proposed law would allow terminally ill adults with less than 6 months to live to legally choose medical assistance to end their lives. It's a deeply emotional and ethical issue, designed to give individuals more autonomy and dignity during their final days. Under the proposal, 2 doctors and a High Court judge must confirm the person's diagnosis and mental capacity before any action can take place. Supporters say it's about compassion, freedom of choice, and reducing suffering, while opponents fear it could pressure vulnerable people into feeling that their lives are a burden to others. If passed, this law would reshape how the UK views end-of-life care, shifting from purely prolonging life to respecting personal choice in how it ends. Critics worry about potential misuse, especially among the elderly or disabled, where social or financial pressures could subtly influence decisions. Medical professionals are divided. Some believe this law would bring clarity and safeguards, while others argue it could erode the fundamental principle of preserving life. Studies from countries like Canada and New Zealand, where similar laws exist, show that strict regulation can minimize abuse, but concerns about moral and societal implications persist. The public conversation now revolves around finding the balance between compassionate autonomy and necessary protection. For ordinary citizens, understanding this law is vital because it affects families, healthcare systems, and moral values across society. If legalized, patients could openly discuss their choices with doctors without fear of legal consequences, and families might gain peace in knowing their loved ones' wishes are respected. However, it also demands that individuals think carefully about advanced directives, palliative care options, and personal beliefs. The assisted dying bill isn't merely a legal matter. It's a reflection of how society defines dignity, choice, and humanity in the face of death. Whether embraced or resisted, it challenges everyone to confront the question: who should have the final say over one's life and its ending? Number 3. Steel Industry Special Measures. Act 2025. The Steel Industry Special Measures. Act 2025 represents a significant intervention by the UK government to stabilise and modernise one of the country's most vital yet vulnerable industries. This law grants the state new powers to direct and support steel companies in times of economic distress or strategic necessity. It was introduced amid growing concerns about the decline of domestic steel production and the potential loss of thousands of skilled jobs. The Act allows ministers to intervene when a company's collapse might threaten national security, energy infrastructure, or regional economies. Supporters view it as a lifeline for the UK's industrial heartlands, protecting both workers and the industries that depend on steel as a foundation for growth. Proponents argue that the Act is essential for ensuring the UK maintains sovereign control over critical materials, particularly as global competition intensifies. With countries like China and India dominating steel production, Britain's reliance on imports has become a vulnerability. The new measures enable the government to inject emergency funding, take temporary ownership, or mandate environmental upgrades to keep key operations running. Environmental advocates, however, are pushing for strict green conditions, demanding that any state aid align with carbon reduction goals. Critics fear that political involvement might lead to mismanagement, favouritism, or taxpayer burdens if companies fail to modernise, despite assistance. The Act attempts to balance economic survival with sustainability, acknowledging that the future of steel must be both competitive and climate conscious. For communities built around steelmaking, this legislation carries deep emotional and economic meaning. Towns in regions such as South Wales and Yorkshire may see renewed investment and job security after years of uncertainty. Workers could benefit from training programs focused on low-carbon steel production, preparing them for a more sustainable industrial future. For consumers and small businesses, maintaining local steel production could mean stable supply chains and reduced import costs. The Steel Industry Special Measures. Act 2025 is more than just an economic reform. It's a statement of resilience and renewal, ensuring that the strength of British steel continues to forge the nation's future. Number 4. Skilled Worker, Work Visa Changes and Salary Thresholds. The Skilled Worker. Visa reforms of 2025 have dramatically reshaped how international professionals live and work in the United Kingdom. Under the new law, the minimum salary threshold for skilled worker visas has increased to around $41,700, a significant jump from previous years. This move aims to reduce the UK's dependence on low-wage migration and prioritise higher skilled employment. It also introduces stricter requirements for sponsored roles, demanding degree-level qualifications and clearer evidence that positions cannot be filled by local workers. Supporters claim these measures protect domestic job markets and raise overall wage standards, ensuring that immigration contributes directly to economic growth. For employers, it's a push toward investing in talent and productivity rather than relying on cheaper labour alternatives. However, for thousands of international workers, this law has created unexpected challenges. Many roles that once qualified for sponsorship, such as hospitality, care, and mid-level technical positions, now fall below the new salary requirement. As a result, sectors already struggling with staff shortages may face even greater pressure. Businesses warn that the changes could drive away essential workers, especially in healthcare and education, where pay often lags behind private industries. Immigration lawyers also note that the revised system may complicate visa renewals, forcing current holders to seek higher salaries or risk losing their right to remain. Critics argue that while the reforms aim to elevate skill levels, they risk making the UK less attractive to international talent, particularly when competing with countries offering more flexible immigration pathways. For workers and employers alike, adapting to these changes requires strategic planning and awareness. Employees should review their contracts and negotiate pay adjustments to stay compliant, while companies must ensure sponsorships meet all updated Home Office criteria. Those on existing visas should stay informed about transitional arrangements that may protect them temporarily. Beyond the bureaucracy, this law sends a broader message. The UK wants a more selective, high-wage economy, but achieving that balance without sacrificing diversity and workforce stability remains a formidable challenge. Whether these reforms strengthen or strain the nation's labour force will depend on how both sides respond in the years ahead. Number 5. Good character guidance changes. Citizenship, naturalisation. The good character guidance changes of 2025 have introduced a tougher and more scrutinised pathway for anyone applying for British citizenship or naturalisation. This revised Home Office policy now examines a broader range of personal behaviour, legal records, and immigration history before granting citizenship. Under the new framework, even minor offences, unpaid taxes, or past immigration breaches can significantly impact an applicant's eligibility. The goal, according to officials, is to ensure that citizenship reflects not just residence, but also integrity and responsibility. Supporters believe this change strengthens national identity and fairness, ensuring that those who become citizens fully respect UK laws and values. It also responds to growing public concerns about transparency and accountability within the immigration system. Critics, however, argue that the updated guidance may unfairly penalise individuals for historical mistakes or circumstances beyond their control. Many migrants who entered the country under complex conditions, such as through asylum or humanitarian routes, fear that even administrative errors could now disqualify them. Legal experts have raised concerns about the subjectivity of good character, as decisions can vary between caseworkers, leading to inconsistent outcomes. There is also a moral debate over whether minor offences should permanently bar someone from citizenship, especially when they have contributed positively to society for years. Advocacy groups warn that this change could create a two-tier perception of worthiness, where economic contribution outweighs personal reform or community service. For applicants, understanding these new standards is crucial. It means maintaining clear financial, legal, and immigration records, seeking professional advice before applying, and addressing any past issues proactively. Those pursuing citizenship should gather strong evidence of community involvement, lawful conduct, and long-term residency to demonstrate their commitment to British values. While the good character guidance changes may seem daunting, they also highlight the importance of transparency and accountability in building public trust. Ultimately, this law challenges applicants to reflect on what it truly means to belong, reminding everyone that citizenship is not only a right to live in the UK, but also a responsibility to uphold its principles every single day. Number 6. Changes to immigration, settlement, indefinite leave to remain, ILR. The 2025 updates to UK immigration and settlement laws have introduced major shifts that affect thousands of visa holders hoping to make the UK their permanent home. One of the most significant adjustments involves extending the traditional 5-year route to indefinite leave to remain, ILR, to as long as 10 years for certain visa categories. This change aims to encourage long-term integration while tightening eligibility standards for permanent residency. Officials argue that the new structure helps ensure applicants have demonstrated sustained economic contribution, lawful behaviour, and community involvement before earning full settlement rights. Supporters see the reform as a necessary measure to prevent quick transitions from temporary visas to citizenship, reinforcing the value of long-term commitment to the country. For many migrants, however, these changes pose serious challenges. Doubling the settlement period means higher visa renewal costs, longer periods of uncertainty, and increased pressure to maintain continuous employment and compliance. Families on dependent visas may face years of instability before achieving secure status, complicating decisions about housing, education, and healthcare. Immigration advisors have warned that individuals could fall out of status more easily due to the complexity of overlapping visa categories and income requirements. Critics also note that the reforms risk creating an unequal system where only high earners or those in specific professions can realistically meet the new standards. This raises concerns about fairness and whether the new policy reflects inclusivity or exclusion in modern immigration strategy. For those currently navigating the immigration process, preparation is essential. Applicants should keep detailed records of employment, residency, and tax compliance, as well as monitor Home Office updates on transitional arrangements. Seeking qualified legal advice early can prevent costly mistakes or status lapses. Employers sponsoring international staff should also reassess contract durations and support structures to accommodate the longer timeline. These changes to ILR policy redefine what it means to settle in Britain, transforming it from a procedural step into a prolonged test of stability, contribution, and resilience. For many, it's not just a legal hurdle, but a personal journey toward truly belonging in the United Kingdom. Number 7. Safety of Rwanda, Asylum and Immigration. Act 2024, the Safety of Rwanda. Act 2024 stands as one of the most controversial immigration laws in recent UK history. This legislation authorises the government to relocate certain asylum seekers to Rwanda while their claims are processed, with the intention of deterring illegal migration across the English Channel. Under the Act, Rwanda is officially designated as a safe country, meaning individuals sent there are presumed to receive fair asylum consideration and humane treatment. Supporters argue that this policy helps restore control over borders, reduce human trafficking, and discourage dangerous crossings that have claimed many lives. For the government, it's a bold response to a crisis that has challenged public trust in the immigration system and strained national resources. Critics, however, see the act as deeply morally and legally problematic. Human rights groups, church leaders, and several legal experts have condemned the plan, arguing that it undermines international refugee protections and shifts responsibility away from the UK. Opponents claim the policy violates the 1951 Refugee Convention, which guarantees the right to seek asylum in a safe country of one's choosing. There are also fears about what happens to those who are denied asylum in Rwanda, and whether they could be sent back to countries where their lives are at risk. Courts have already faced multiple legal challenges, with some rulings questioning Rwanda's safety record and the fairness of its asylum procedures. The debate has become a defining moral test for how Britain balances compassion with control in immigration policy. For asylum seekers, this law introduces a new layer of uncertainty and vulnerability. Individuals arriving through irregular routes now face the real risk of removal to a country they have never known. Legal representatives emphasise the importance of understanding one's rights, seeking immediate advice, and avoiding misinformation spread through smuggling networks. For the general public, this act raises larger questions about identity, ethics, and the UK's role in global humanitarian efforts. Whether the Safety of Rwanda Act succeeds or fails, it forces a national reckoning with how far a society is willing to go in the name of border security and deterrence. Number 8. Terrorism, Protection of Premises. Act 2025. Martyn's Law. The Terrorism, Protection of Premises. Act 2025, widely known as Martyn's Law, represents a powerful step toward improving public safety in the wake of recent terrorist attacks across the UK. Named after Martyn Hett, one of the victims of the 2017 Manchester Arena bombing, the law requires public venues and large event organisers to implement specific security and emergency preparedness measures. This includes creating risk assessments, training staff, and ensuring clear evacuation plans are in place for emergencies. The goal is to make public spaces safer without creating an atmosphere of fear or inconvenience. Supporters view this law as a long overdue measure that ensures lessons from tragic past events are not forgotten, emphasising the importance of preparedness over complacency. The law applies to a wide range of locations, from concert halls and shopping centres to stadiums and community venues, each categorised by size and capacity. Venues that fail to comply could face fines or even closure, making compliance a serious operational priority. Security professionals believe Martyn's Law will help create a unified national standard for counter-terrorism readiness, reducing the patchwork of voluntary measures that existed before. However, critics warn that smaller businesses and local venues may struggle with the financial and logistical burden of meeting the new standards. Some argue that the government should provide greater funding or training support to help community spaces meet the legal requirements effectively. Balancing strong security with practicality remains the central challenge for implementation. For venue owners, event organisers, and the general public, Martyn's Law signifies a cultural shift in how the UK approaches safety. Implementing preventive security measures like bag checks, CCTV monitoring, and emergency drills may soon become routine across the country. Ordinary citizens also have a role to play, staying alert, reporting suspicious activity, and supporting venues that prioritise safety. While the law cannot eliminate every risk, it strengthens collective responsibility and resilience. The Terrorism, Protection of Premises. Act 2025 stands as both a tribute and a commitment, ensuring that the tragedy which inspired it leads to lasting protection for future generations. Number 9. Online Safety Act 2023. The Online Safety Act 2023 is a groundbreaking piece of legislation designed to make the internet a safer space for everyone, especially children and vulnerable users. It places strict responsibilities on major technology platforms, including social media networks, search engines, and messaging services, to identify and remove harmful content more effectively. This includes material related to online abuse, self-harm promotion, terrorism, and misinformation. The law also compels tech companies to verify users' ages where necessary and to provide tools that allow people to control the content they see. Supporters argue that this act marks a new era of digital accountability, shifting the burden from individuals to corporations that profit from online engagement. For many parents and educators, it offers a long-awaited layer of protection in an increasingly unregulated digital world. However, the law has sparked significant debate over its impact on privacy and free expression. Critics warn that forcing companies to monitor online activity so closely could lead to excessive censorship or surveillance. There are concerns that end-to-end encryption, a crucial privacy feature, might be compromised under requirements to scan private messages for harmful material. Civil liberties groups fear the act could set a precedent for government overreach where the line between protection and control becomes blurred. Smaller tech platforms also face challenges meeting these regulations, as the cost of compliance could be overwhelming compared to larger corporations. Despite these concerns, regulators maintain that the Act is essential for tackling the growing threats of online exploitation, fraud, and misinformation that have real-world consequences. For ordinary users, the Online Safety Act changes how people interact online. Expect to see stricter content moderation, stronger reporting tools, and clearer community guidelines across major platforms. Creators and influencers will need to adapt their posting habits to avoid unintentional breaches, while parents can take advantage of enhanced parental controls to safeguard children's digital experiences. Ultimately, this law reshapes the relationship between technology, safety, and freedom, reminding everyone that the digital world is no longer a lawless frontier, but a shared space demanding accountability, responsibility, and ethical design from both users and platforms alike. Number 10. Digital ID BritCard proposal. The Digital ID proposal, often referred to as the BritCard, is one of the most ambitious and debated initiatives emerging from the UK government's digital transformation agenda. This plan aims to introduce a unified national digital identity system that allows citizens to verify who they are across a wide range of services, from banking and healthcare to job applications and government benefits. Supporters claim it will simplify bureaucracy, reduce identity fraud, and make accessing public services faster and more secure. The vision is a single encrypted digital profile that eliminates the need for multiple documents like passports, driving licenses, and utility proofs. Advocates say this system will help modernise the UK's infrastructure and strengthen national efficiency in an increasingly online world. Despite its potential, the proposal has sparked fierce debate about privacy, surveillance, and data security. Critics worry that centralising so much personal information could make the system a prime target for cyber attacks or misuse by authorities. Civil liberty groups have compared it to state surveillance by stealth, arguing that it could erode the right to anonymity and create opportunities for tracking citizens' movements and activities. Data protection experts also question whether the government can guarantee robust encryption and independent oversight. Past failures with large-scale data systems, such as the NHS digital projects, have fueled public scepticism. The debate now centres on whether digital convenience should come at the potential cost of personal freedom. For citizens, the digital ID system could redefine daily life in subtle but powerful ways. Proving identity might become as simple as scanning a code, but opting out could limit access to essential services. Employers, landlords, and banks might eventually require BritCard verification before proceeding with any transaction. While the proposal promises efficiency, transparency, and modernisation, its real-world impact will depend on how data is managed, who controls it, and whether participation remains voluntary. The BritCard idea captures the central tension of the digital age, the balance between security and privacy, between innovation and control, and its outcome will shape how Britons navigate their digital lives for decades to come. The UK's legal landscape is shifting faster than ever, touching nearly every aspect of daily life, from how we work and communicate to how we protect our privacy and define our rights. These new and upcoming laws reveal a clear pattern: greater control, higher accountability, and a push toward modernisation. Some changes promise safety and progress, while others raise serious questions about freedom, fairness, and personal choice. Whether it's the introduction of digital IDs, the tightening of immigration rules, or the government's growing involvement in online safety, one thing is certain: awareness is no longer optional. Understanding these laws isn't just for lawyers or policymakers. It's for everyone who values their future in this country. Now is the time to stay informed, stay cautious, and stay engaged. Read official updates, question what you don't understand, and share what you learn. Knowledge is your strongest defense against policies that could quietly redefine your everyday life. These laws may seem distant, but their effects could reach your job, your finances, and even your personal freedoms sooner than you think. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into UK laws and current affairs. And drop a comment sharing which law you think will affect you most. Your voice matters. And together, awareness becomes action. For more insights, check out our next video on how future government policies could shape the next decade of British life.